Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Tuesday, and it's March 7th. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today. So if you're watching live, welcome in. If you're watching on replay, also welcome in. If you guys have any questions at any point during the live stream, feel free to leave it in the chat. If you're watching on replay, throw it down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I also do ask that with those questions, you just note whether they are more DraftKings or FanDuel specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and as efficiently as possible. But what we'll be going over in this video and this live stream for today is the recap of yesterday's picks from the updated core, seeing how they turned out, talking about the injuries in play for tonight's slate. It's an 8-game main slate overall, and then going over to both DraftKings and FanDuel and talking about my core picks for today, at least at this point in time. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. On the DraftKings side, we have point guard Jamal Murray. He was $8,000. Was looking for 40 points on. He got to 40.75, so he was a hit yesterday. At shooting guard, ended up on Trey Murphy there at $4,400. Looking for 22 points on. He got to 38.75, so he was a really, really good hit on yesterday's slate. Then at small forward, went with Jordan Nwora with no Aaron Nesmith in that starting lineup once again. So $3,800. Looking for 19 points on. He got to 21, so he is ahead as well. At power forward, we had Marvin Bagley at $5,500. Looking for 27, 28 points down. He only got 24 yesterday. Mainly scored the ball, had a couple of rebounds and like a block, but really wasn't too effective otherwise. So just kind of a miss there, but not one that completely killed you overall. And then last but not least, at that center position, went with Mike Muscala, who ended up in the starting lineup for the Boston Celtics. $3,300, looking for 16, 17 points on. He got to 19, which probably could have been a little bit better, but still was a hit regardless yesterday. So 4 out of 5 on the DraftKings sides in terms of hits. If you had some other good plays, you had a pretty good chance of cashing as well. Hopefully you guys got onto some Jaylen Brown on both sites as well, although he was not a core play. Then on the FanDuel side, we had CJ McCollum at the point guard position. As I mentioned yesterday, was going back and forth between him and Jamal Murray. Probably should have went to Jamal Murray in this case, but CJ McCollum, $8,100, looking for 41 points. Only got 21.3 yesterday. He was a mess. Only ended up playing 31 minutes and mainly just scored the ball yesterday. We did see Jonas Valanciunas return, so that did bump his usage and his shot volume down a little bit as well. Then at shooting guard, we had Jaden Ivey, $6,100, looking for 31 points. Got to 40.5, so he was a hit as well. Or I should just say he was a hit at this point in time. He was really good yesterday. Obviously, there was no Killian Hayes once again, which gave him an extra bump. Then at small forward, we had Trey Murphy at $5,200, looking for 26 points. He ended up with 40 points on the FanDuel side. So really strong play there. I believe he had 2 steals, 2 blocks in that game overall as well. So that definitely helped him out a little bit more on the FanDuel side. Power forward still ended up on Marvin Bagley at $6,200. We're looking for 31 points out of him. Only got to 24.1. Wasn't a terrible game, just wasn't quite what we were looking for in that per minute. Points just really weren't there as they have been in recent games. And then last but not least, at center, went with Mike Muscala once again. $4,000, looking for 20 points. He got to 21.2, so he is a hit as well. A little bit more mixed on the FanDuel side. If he had some other decent plays, he still had a pretty good chance at cashing overall. Me, myself, personally, in the line I had run out the main line, I should say, that I ran out on FanDuel. It was a little bit over 300 points, so it was a little bit short of cashing yesterday. I had some Damian Lillard in there, had some Jaylen Brown, just had some kind of wrong pieces in there with CJ McCollum and a couple other guys as well. But with that being said, going to get off the recap screen. We'll go over to the injury screen real quick. We'll talk about these injuries in play for today's slate, essentially. But once again, it's an 8-game main slate, and we have 2 games starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time. For the Washington Wizards, we have Monte Morris, who has already been downgraded to doubtful. So it looks like Derlon Wright will probably get the start once again. Maybe a little bit of bump in assist rate for Bradley Beal once again. Kyle Kuzma still listed as questionable. He missed the most recent game with his knee injury. If he doesn't end up starting, we'll either see Corey Kispert or Nenny Advia enter the starting lineup. Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, both would look better in that case as well. And then Xavier Cooks recently signed with the team. He came over from the Australian Basketball League, so he's questionable to play tonight. We'll see if he makes his debut or not, but shouldn't be a major factor for DFS. Then for the Pistons side, they are on the back-to-back today, so literally all these guys are just listed as questionable. So we really don't have any tell on them at this point in time. Bogdanovich, Diallo, Duran, Hayes, Magruder, Stewart, all listed as questionable at this point in time. We should get an injury update in about 2 hours or so, and when that does come out, I'll post it down in the comments. Diallo is the one to watch because he did roll his ankle last night. The other guys have kind of been banged up for a little while at this point in time. And then then we move over to the Milwaukee Bucks, and for the Bucks, they have no Goran Dragic, no Wesley Matthews once again today. Drew Holiday list is questionable with a neck injury. I do assume that he does end up playing today. And then Giannis list is probable. For the Orlando side, Amarillo Schofield list is out. Gary Harris and Wendell Carter both listed as questionable. Both did end up missing their most recent game, so we'll keep an eye out on that. Philadelphia 76ers are also on the back-to-back, so we'll have to keep an update on them. As I said, with like the Pistons, probably have that update in about 2 hours or so if there's anything different. But we do have Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, both expected listed as questionable since they missed last night, but we'll see if they're good to go tonight or not. Then for the Timberwolves, we have Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Noel, both listed as out. Austin Reeves listed as probable to play tonight. So no major changes there from their last game. Moving down to the Charlotte Hornets, Cody Martin is obviously he's been out for quite some time. He came back for a little bit and then kind of don't really expect too much there. No major changes for this Hornets team overall. From the New York Knicks perspective, Dalton Jeffries technically is listed as questionable, but he's in the G League anyways. And then Jalen Brunson, who missed their most recent game, is listed as questionable with a foot injury. If he is to miss, Emmanuel Quickly is going to look a lot better, and RJ Barrett's going to look a lot better as well. Julius Randle will still get a little bit of a bump as well, though. Josh Hart and Quentin Grimes might get a small bump as well. But that's here just without Ben Simmons. So we stand lineup for them in standard rotation. Houston Rockets are all the way healthy at this point in time. For the Golden State Warriors, we have Gary Payton II listed out, as well as Andrew Wiggins. And then we have Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green, both listed as probable at this point in time. Let's see. So Nightmare's talking about here too. He said you should have high price guys in your core 9 to 10. Typically, I don't list those guys in my cores because I like giving you guys the flexibility to play your favorite high price guys. Depending on the slate, depending on the value where that lands, I do put some in there from time to time as well. But typically, I like to go with more mid-level price guys or cheaper guys as kind of the core plays, and then kind of let you guys figure out who you want to pay up for on a given slate. But if you guys always do have any questions about that, feel free to reach out as well. Then we move over to, let's see where I was at too. So the Thunder side, we have Povashevsky listed out. Jalen Williams, the forward, is listed as questionable. He's dealing with a little bit of wrist soreness at this point in time. If he's unable to go, we'll probably see like a Kenrich Williams or like an Isaiah Joe enter the starting lineup. Maybe an Aaron Wiggins. In that case, he might be in play, but probably still don't want to play him that bad overall. And then we move down to the Utah game where Colin Sexton is listed out. Walker Kessler has been downgraded this morning already due to illness. So just keep that in mind. Could make Kelly Olynyk pretty interesting overall. Maybe they go still big in this lineup. I wouldn't do it against Dallas personally if I was their head coach. But if there is no Walker Kessler, Kelly Olynyk's going to give a little bit of a bump. Lauri Markkanen probably gets a little bit of a rebound and bump in that situation as well. And then we see who that fifth starter would be, whether they want to start another big man or if they want to go a little bit smaller and put, like Talen Horton-Tucker back in that lineup as well. Then we move to the Dallas side. They have Maxi Kleber listed as questionable with a hamstring injury. He did come back from that like torn hamstring that he had surgery on, I believe. Played for a couple games, tweaked his hamstring now again, so we'll keep an eye out on that. AJ Lawson questionable, but probably more of a G League guy at this point in time. And then JaVale McGee was already listed or downgraded to questionable at this point in time, although he's not really been a major part of their rotation, even if Maxi Kleber's out. Then for the Memphis Grizzlies, we have Vince Williams listed as out. Steven Adams still remains out. And then John Morant's out. He's suspended at this point in time for his altercations off the court. So going to see a lot of Tyus Jones is a pretty good play once again. He went for 60 DraftKings points the last time out, which was a weekend day, so we didn't get to talk about that one as much. But you talked about a guy that hit 20 times value on that slate. I was talking with a couple friends and everything else like that since they were building some lineups. I'm like, you guys don't have Tyus Jones in there at this point. Got to have him in there when he was $30 of $100 and starting for John Morant. Today on DraftKings, he's $4,900. Still going to look like a great play. $7,500 on FanDuel. Makes him more of a GPP option than kind of a lock or a core play at this point in time, though. But if he can put up the performance he did last time, going to look pretty good once again. Obviously, Dylan Brooks did not play in that game as well, though. And then Jake LaRivia is listed as questionable. Doesn't really factor too much into her rotation either way, though. For the Lakers, LeBron James, Mo Bamba both out. So nothing we can talk too much about from that perspective. LeBron's been out for a little while. Mo Bamba, just that backup center role. So we'll probably see a little bit of Vanderbilt in the backup 5 spot. We'll see a little bit of Wayne Gabriel as well. D'Angelo Russell's list is questionable. He's the big one for today for this Lakers team, whether he plays or not. If he doesn't play, Dennis Schroeder looks like a decent play once again. Austin Reeves could be a pay down option, especially on DraftKings, and kind of opens up some value there if Russell is unable to go, or if Russell's able to go, excuse me, then kind of shifts things around a little bit. We'll see what that starting lineup would look like for the Lakers in that situation, though. But with that being said, that's kind of a quick rundown on all the injuries in play. The main ones we're watching today, probably going to be D'Angelo Russell. Walker Kessler will have a pretty decent size impact there as well. Jalen Williams we'll keep an eye out on, but probably not a major factor with his price tag at this point in time. Major one on tonight's slate. Wendell Carter as well. If he isn't able to go, Mo Bamba will have a pretty big impact. We'll pay attention to the 76ers news as well as the Pistons news and Kyle Kuzma. So that's kind of the main ones we're looking at. Drew Holiday in there as well, although I do expect him to play tonight. But with that being said, we're going to get off the injuries. We're going to go over to DraftKings, talk about my core picks for today at this point in time. And apparently I did not put them in, so bear with me as I enter them in here. I thought I had them saved already, but apparently I forgot that step. So we are going to talk and type at the same time here as soon as this page gets loaded. So I'm just waiting for this page to load really slowly today, it seems like. So at point guard position, we're going back to Tyus Jones, or not even back to Tyus Jones since we didn't play over the weekend or have a video over the weekend. But there is no John Morant in this game. We've seen Tyus Jones time and time again perform in his absence. He's a very good, very capable, very fantasy-friendly backup point guard. So if he's out there, he's probably going to play at least 32 minutes in this game. Goes against the Lakers, which is a very good pace-up spot. These are two of the highest-paced teams in the NBA too, the Lakers and the Memphis Grizzlies. So this should be a pretty high scoring back and forth game, or hopefully back and forth game at least. But Tyus Jones is going to look really good once again. Currently I'm projected for 29 points, but does offer a ton of upside for more as well. And then at shooting guard, we have Desmond Bane, who is obviously his teammate. This is a very good high pace matchup. There is no John Morant. Desmond Bane typically steps up in those situations as well. I'm not crazy about the $7,700 price tag, but the upside that he does offer is quite a bit. Currently have him projected for 39, 40 points, but does definitely offer some upside, some more upside as well, especially given this high pace matchup. Then at small forward, I'm going with RJ Barrett. At this point in time, his price tag is cheap enough at $5,300, where if Jalen Brunson was to play, he's still going to project right around 28 points, which is 5 times value or more. And then, or I should just say 5 times value there. But if Jalen Brunson doesn't play, we're talking 30-point upside pretty easily for RJ Barrett. He gets that usage bump, probably gets a little bit of extra ball handling duties, could get a little bit of small assist bump. They're going against Charlotte tonight. It's a very good pace-up matchup once again as well. So would not be surprised if, RJ Barrett gets 32 points or more tonight, especially if there is no Jalen Brunson once again. Then at power forward, going back to our boy Kyle Anderson, he's just kind of the safe play. There's probably a better value that's going to open up throughout the day, but at $5,800, looking for 29 points out of him more often than not, you're getting 29 points out of Kyle Anderson. That's exactly what I have him projected for. A guy that can score the ball a little bit, get some assists, get some rebounds, a couple defensive stats here and there, plays decent sized minutes. Can't really go wrong with him at this point in time. And then last but not least, at that center position, I am going with Mitchell Robinson, who is just too cheap at this point in time at $4,900. Going against the Charlotte Hornets, the biggest thing about Mitchell Robinson is the games that he doesn't do well. It's when he doesn't get the minutes, he gets into foul trouble. Less likely that he's going to get into foul trouble against Mark Williams and Nick Richards, who are not very involved offensively. So that is a good thing for him overall, just in general. And even when you're talking about like the Hornets team in general, it's not like they're a team that's attacking and driving to the paint quite as often. Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, more jump shot guys, Kelly Oubre as well, PJ Washington as well. So it's not like there's going to be that many opportunities for fouls as maybe against some other teams. So I do like him. It's obviously a pace up spot. If he's playing the big minutes, once again, $4,900, just a mispriced tag at this point in time. Should be at least $5,800, $6,000 at this point in time. Currently, I'm projected for 28 points tonight. Obviously, looking for 24, 25 at his price tag. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here on the DraftKings side, you have $21,400 remaining, $7,100 per player. So a good amount of money left over. So if you really want to pay up for a stud, you can go up to Giannis, a Luka Doncic, a Joel Embiid. Anthony Davis is going to be a very, very popular one today at $10,800. It's going to project out really well. He was right behind Mitchell Robinson in terms of the centers when I was projecting today in terms of points per dollar. But with that being said, we're going to get off of DraftKings at this point in time, move over to FanDuel and talk about the core picks over there. Once again, I'm going to have to enter them as I go since I thought I had that in there, but apparently I did not when I was first going through all this. So FanDuel pricing is a lot tighter than DraftKings today. I'll tell you that once again. It's been that way almost all season, honestly. There's been a few random days there, but at point guard, ended up on Mike Conley's $5,800. You're looking for 29 points out. I got him projected for 28, 29 tonight. Goes against Philadelphia. It's a decent spot for him overall. If he's out there, if he's playing decent size minutes, if this game's back and forth, he's going to look pretty decent. Obviously, you can go up to some higher price guys, but on FanDuel, it just seems like a lot of guys are a little bit overpriced. He's somebody that comes in projecting right around 5 times value, a relatively safe play at this point in time. At shooting guard, I went with his teammate Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has been a little bit up and down as of late, but I do like him tonight. I like this matchup. We're talking a reduced price tag for him on the FanDuel side at $8,900. This is actually a price tag that is cheaper than the DraftKings side by $700. Looking for 44, 45 points out. I'm projected for 45, 46 tonight. Does have some pretty good upside for more, though, if he's out there, if he's playing well, if his shot's going down, if he's facilitating just a little bit, maybe gets a couple extra steals in there. Not the greatest defensive player in the world, but he's still capable of getting steals. And on DraftKings or on FanDuel, that gets you a couple extra points as well. At small forward, went with Cam Johnson, who waiting for him to come up here. He's $6,000 going against Houston tonight. Pretty good pace up spot as well. He's been out there. He's been scoring the ball really efficiently since he's come over to this Nets team. Currently, I'm projected for, about 30 points. That's what you're looking for out of him tonight, but does definitely have some upside for more. If he's doing just a little bit more than scoring, if he gets a couple of rebounds, a steal, a block, or anything else like that, definitely going to put him over the top and look like a decent play overall. Then at power forward, this is where things get a little tricky because I wanted a pay down option today. We're talking paying up for some of these other guys because newsflash here, Anthony Davis is going to be my center option on today's slate. So at power forward, we went with Yuzmeng Jang here. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to put him down in that power forward spot since he has double versatility. So this is a guy that is a rookie player. He hits a pace up spot against Golden State tonight. They seem like they want to get him some minutes out there, see what he's capable of doing. He's a guy that can contribute in a bunch of different ways. $3,600, a very, very pay down spot at this point in time. He's only averaging 11 fantasy points per game, but recently recalled from the G League. Let's see here. These are the past 2 games since he's been recalled. We have 19 minutes, 20 minutes there. So he's getting decent minutes. He's a guy that can contribute in a couple different categories. If you're looking just for a pay down guy today, 17, 18 points out of him at $3,600, definitely ain't going to kill you. But, if this game gets out of control, if they start losing the Golden State pretty bad, could be a guy that gets some extra minutes as well. Not a guy that maybe we're going to be on by the end of the day, but just kind of a cheap pay down option to consider at this point in time. Then last but not least, we have Anthony Davis, who is $11,500. And you'll see as we talk up here with the salary remaining, $2,400, $2,000, $6,050 left over after that. So if you put a more expensive power forward option down there, you'd have a little bit left over. There's going to be value that does open up on this slate. I don't want you guys to confuse that whatsoever, but until we get some of that Pistons news, until we get 76ers news, until we get a couple other things coming in throughout the day, kind of hard to see where that value is going to be at this point in time. But as always, that's why I do leave the injury updates down in the comments, as well as many starting lineups as I can get to every night so that you guys are informed on that value. That's why we have the updated core, about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock as well. But in terms of Anthony Davis for tonight, he's $11,500. You're looking for 57, 58 points at him. Currently, I'm projected for 57. Does have a ton of upside for more as well, especially if D'Angelo Russell's not out there. One less guy to compete with for shots and usage and everything else like that. Should be a pretty good matchup against Memphis. Obviously, they are down Brandon Clark at this point in time, too. So it's really just Xavier Tillman and Jaren Jackson Jr. at that center spot for them overall. And the upside of Anthony Davis on a slate like tonight, probably as high as anybody out there, really, honestly, besides maybe like a Luka Doncic, but definitely love him once again tonight. And that should be a very, very paced up spot. So I would not be surprised, if Anthony Davis goes for 60 or more tonight once again. But with that being said, that's really what I do have in terms of the core picks for today for both DraftKings and FanDuel. Do apologize for taking a little bit extra time there to put in the picks as I do, but typically I have that in ahead of time, kind of a brain fart today, but do appreciate everybody that did take the time out of their day to tune into this. Kind of what I have at this point in time. If anybody does have any remaining questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave them in the live chat if you're still listening live at this point in time. Leave them down in the comments if you're watching on replay or if it's after the time I close out the live stream. And I definitely can get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to know whether those questions are more DraftKings or FanDuel specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, we'll be having those injury updates down in the comments below. Those back-to-back games, we should have the update on that, within the next 2 hours. Definitely going to be some big news there coming out, as well as some of these other guys that are questionable throughout the day as well. And then, like I mentioned already, 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock, I'll have that updated core as well. So definitely has a lot of impact as the news changes throughout the day. And then if there's any additional changes to the updated core throughout the night, I try to list that down below as well. So let's see, for Nightmare, does the matchup or player affect their upside? Yeah, definitely. The matchup can affect their upside. If you're talking about like the Lakers and Memphis game tonight, where they are two of the fastest paced teams in the NBA, those guys are going to project slightly better today because there's going to be more possessions and more opportunities out there for each team. It might just be 3 extra possessions for the game, but that's 3 extra shots to go around potentially, 3 extra rebounds to potentially go around, 3 extra assists potentially at max to go around too. So there's a lot that could impact that as well. And then obviously, given the player, there are players that have higher upsides than other ones. Even if we're going back and talking about Jeng here, who with Oklahoma City, he's a guy that can contribute in multiple categories. So cheap price tag, obviously that affects a lot too as well. But it really just depends. Like there are some players like PJ Tucker or guys that have very, very low fantasy points per minute. No matter how many minutes you give those guys, they still aren't going to look like great plays, as opposed to like a guy that averages a fantasy point per minute or like 0.1 fantasy points per minute. If you give them more minutes, they're going to start looking pretty good in comparison to their price tag. So let's see. Nightmare says, so pace is the biggest factor. Pace is a major factor too. Obviously, you'll have teams that are good defensively and not as good defensively. It doesn't matter as much in the modern NBA, just because like even if you look at I believe is the Heat, I read a statistic about a week ago. They were like the worst team with 106 points. They would have been like the third highest scoring team like 12 years ago. So every game definitely does have some impact there, but pace matters a lot, especially when you talk about teams that do play faster, you get more possessions as opposed to teams that play a little bit slower. I know at least earlier in the year, Dallas and Denver were playing a little bit slower. So those teams were kind of ones that when you're like faster paced teams was going against them, maybe you want to avoid them, but definitely playing against teams like Charlotte that play fast, don't play that great of defense. Used to be Brooklyn, but now they have really pretty good defenders. So there was a lot of things that can change with that for sure, though. So pace, defensive matchup matters a little bit, but it kind of gets overplayed a little bit as well, especially when you're looking at like individual matchups, because there's so much switching in the modern NBA and everything else like that at this point in time too. But that's kind of what I do have at this point. Oh, let's see here. Nightmare said another thing too. So he says a player that just scored, they still have upside, but solo. God, I'm trying to think of a good example for this. So the biggest one that comes to my head, like right away, Terrence Ross, a guy that just shoots. Like he'll go out there, he'll get like he'll get like 2-3 rebounds, maybe 2-3 assists. He might get a steal here and there, but like the games where he has more shot opportunities, he's going to have more upside. But he could take 12 shots and make 2 of them one day and pretty much have no upside, and as opposed to like going out, take 12 shots and making half of them the next day or whatever, and have a lot more upside, or 75% of his shots even. So guys that are more scoring dependent or more volatile, let's just put it that way. But the guys that contribute in multiple categories, they're a little bit safer, but they also offer a little bit more upside too, just because they're contributing more things than just scoring points as well. So a guy like Luka, he has the safe floor because he's going to score points, he's going to get rebounds, he's going to get assists. But then he also has the high ceiling still, because he can go out there and he can score 40 plus points. He can go out there and have 12 plus rebounds. He can go out there and have 12 plus assists. He could still get a steal and a block every once in a while too. So though that just raises the ceiling a little bit more, as opposed to like a scoring dependent guy. Anthony Simons is a good one too as well for like Portland, especially in games where Dame does play, where he's not getting as many assists. Jalen Green's another good example too. So like Jalen Green, when he goes out and scores 40 points, he still has a pretty high ceiling. But the other games where he goes out and he scores like 14 points and he has like 3 assists and like 2 rebounds and a steal, not helping you too much at that point in time. Let's see. He says, Nightmare says Maxey too. Maxey's a decent example with James Harden around. In games like where James Harden's not playing, then obviously he has more upside because he has more assist potential as well. Games where Joel Embiid doesn't play, Maxey usually has higher upside as well too, just because he has more usage and shot volume and everything else like that too. So you see a pretty strong correlation between Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid in the games they have played, or even in games that Maxey's played without Embiid, and then even with the games that Maxey's played without James Harden, even though there hasn't been too many of them this year. Personally, since Harden was kind of banged up for a little bit, Maxey was kind of getting on his roll, and then Maxey got hurt himself too. So there is very scoring dependent players out there, definitely for sure, but guys that can contribute in multiple categories, they are a little bit safer. They might not have quite a bit of upside as composed to the guy that can go out and score 70 points on any given night, but even though there's not too many of those guys. But even Donovan Mitchell is kind of an example of that too. A guy that can go out and score 40 plus points. But there's also games where Donovan Mitchell has a ton of assists. Even last night, he had 11 rebounds on a 40-point night as well. Definitely propels his upside as well. So that's just something to consider as well. That's pretty much what I do have at this point in time. If you're brand new to the channel, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely would appreciate it if you appreciate if you consider doing so. If you end up doing so, it really helps build the channel here at Coach Craig Sports. If you are brand new to the channel, you're just subscribing or you're already subscribed, also be sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss out on anything. Right now, we got NBA DFS going on, XFL DFS. Hopefully, I get the snap count rates from week 3 for that, and I should have a live stream either later today or tomorrow, just based on when I get those. Do a little bit of price picks up on my Twitter as well over at Coach Craig Sport. If you're brand new to price picks, I'm throwing this up on the screen here. You can use this promo code. You get first match deposit when you first deposit. It helps you out a little bit, helps me out a little bit as well. But we'll definitely be looking at some price picks for later tonight. Should have them posted up this afternoon on my Twitter. And then as well, I've been doing some NFL draft prospect interviews. So if you're into the NFL, you're into learning about some NFL draft prospects, there's stories and everything else like that, definitely be sure to check out those videos as well. But with that being said, that's really all I have for today's video at this point in time. Do appreciate everybody that did take the time out of their day to tune in once again. If you guys have any other additional questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure you're checking up throughout the day for those injury updates, as well as starting lineups and the updated core prior to lock as well. But with that being said, that's really all I have for today. Do appreciate everybody that did tune in once again, and hope that each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.